Martin, you and I have spoken. We've known each other for a long time now, and I know a number of people who have been on your programs, and they've all come back with really, really positive, enthusiastic feedback about what you're doing. So it's a real pleasure for me to have this conversation with you and be talking about why you're actually choosing Meon Springs to come and run a program here. But before we get into that, tell me, what is the program about? Tell me what you're actually doing, what you're offering people.
So we have a program called the Quality of Mind program, and it is an exploration into the mind. And I came across this work about 8-9 years ago, and it blew me away. It transformed how I relate to my own mind, and then hence how I see and experience the world. And my experience of running this for the last 8 years is that there's a lot of people that are not using their mind that well. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, and especially at this time in the world, there is a huge amount going on. And so there are people that are struggling with peace of mind and having a calm mind, having peace of mind. There's people that are struggling with confidence. There's people that are struggling with overwhelm.
Yeah.
Lacking clarity, so they're looking for clarity about what they do or where they base themselves. Clarity just to be able to make better decisions, having more wisdom flow and all that sort of thing. So I experienced that there's loads going on for people right now. And then there's people that just want to be better, right? They want to be a better leader, they want to be better in their lives, they want to be kinder, they want to be more effective, more productive, or whatever it is. And so when I came across this work, it blew me away, and I realized that it was the source to living with those things, mm-hmm. to live with more calm, with more peace, more clarity. And so, that's why we run this program. Yeah, because it's at the heart of life, but it's also at the heart of leadership. Yeah. When did you come across the Quality of Mind principles in the form that is called the 3 principles, which we won't go into now? But when did you come across this, and what difference has it made to you?
It's probably when was it? Around about 2015, 2016. I was looking at some sort of various works in this area, and it was the only thing that really made me sort of, rather than trying to change the way I'm thinking all the time or question the way I'm thinking, which is also a really useful thing to do, it all of a sudden there was an understanding that actually, well, it's all made up. Like you said earlier, it's all story, and when you can see that, then there's a lot more freedom in what you're thinking. It doesn't. There's less connection and seriousness to what's going on in your head. So that's so it's probably 4 or 5, maybe 5 or 6 years ago now that I came across this kind of way of thinking.
And
this model.
What impact has it had?
Well, it's it's built on things I've done previously. One of the things which I find quite difficult in the personal development or psychological improvement world is that every single different aspect of it tends to say the other aspects are not right, and you shouldn't be doing that, and you should be doing this, and that twisted my mind for quite a long time. This fits in as just a part of the whole, all the other things that are out there that give you insight and move you forward in the way you're thinking. But I think probably the difference between the 3 principles and this understanding is it almost takes in everything else. So if for example you're going to do some CBT and question your thoughts and beliefs, well, when you get to the point where you see actually you've got thoughts and beliefs, questioning thoughts and beliefs, then you realise that it's all made up of thought, and even the whole construct of yourself is made up of thought, and it just expands and sort of grows and grows and grows, and that is kind of what the principle behind thought is all about, in my opinion.
When did you come across the quality of mind?
What was the key thing that you say you came across this understanding 8 years ago? What was the key thing that you picked up? What was the bit that made you go, boom, this is unbelievably different from anything that I've done before?
That's an awesome question. I think it's the simplicity of this understanding. It's simple and it's experiential. It's not a theoretical construct. It's not like reading a book to understand some theory. It's about understanding it in this moment now as I'm having the experience that I'm having now.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to contradict myself. It's extremely simple, yet it's also profoundly complex because I'm so immersed in the experience of what my mind is doing.
Yeah.
And I just found it so powerful. It helped me see things a different way, see myself a different way, see the way I live a different way, my choices. It just applied to absolutely blooming everything in how I live.
What was
the beauty of this work and why I love it so much is that it works for everyone. If they come with an open mind, they walk away with a mind that is cleansed. It's like going on it's a mind spa, right? Come here and let's wash out whatever shit's going on in there, right? And reliably people leave with more clarity, more freedom, more peace, invigorated, and shifting some of what they've been caught up in.
So I'm just a simple farmer. I have done a little bit of the work that you've done, so I understand some of the outline of what you're talking, but for me as a farmer in my day-to-day life, what is it exactly that's going to help me change the way I see the world and be different and better in the world than I am now?
Well, you need to come on the 3-day program.
I'm in.
You're in. I think that there's some various elements of what we share that are profound. But you, as a farmer, living and working, doing what you're doing, you're immersed in your thinking.
Yes.
And it's not like you're aware of it as thinking, but you're just immersed in the way that you see everything.
Yeah.
So you live in some thinking about yourself.
Yeah.
Whether you like yourself, whether you think you're good at this or don't think you're good at this, or whether you like the time in the world at the moment, or whether you're struggling, whether you're, it might be the way you're thinking about your cows. You're frustrated about the way it's operating. And you get so it's like looking at where you might be about someone that you're employing, and you find yourself, you've got this story about them that you're immersed in, that then totally shapes how you show up with that person.
Oh, you're pressing so many buttons for me now, Martin. This is amazing. It's just, I can see particularly this year, it's been a really sort of wet and difficult year, and we've been trying to cut silage on the farm, and should we do it and should we don't, and I came across a situation where I said we should do it, and our host manager said we shouldn't, and then I make up all sorts of stories about how he's going to feel about me and everything else, and as it happened, we went through the job, and I did kind of realise that actually this is a story that was going on in my head. It wasn't actually what was going on in his head, or the reality of the situation, and it turned out that we did make the silage, and it turned out actually quite good. But more than anything else, the relationship we had between us ended up quite on a positive note, whereas previously, if I got completely stuck in my mind about it, it would have spiraled. I would have come out with all sorts of that's wrong, you shouldn't be doing that, and you're right, we just live in our own patterns generally, don't we? If we don't realise our own patterns, and what you're talking about is actually helping people see the patterns that they're running for themselves and realising kind of a bit more what's going on, more awareness. Am I right? Am I getting this right?
Yes, massively. And awareness is a key point here. Like awareness of the patterns, so I've got the conditioning that I grew up with, you know, from my mum and my dad and my family life, and then in society is like I'm conditioned a certain way, and I've got patterns of behaviour, and I've got people that I like naturally and don't naturally like, and all of this is playing out in how I live and how you live and how you lead and how you deal with that situation. And so yes, awareness is a massive part of this. What impact has this work and this understanding had on you personally, and or how you run this farm?
Run it in a much more logical way, because I'm not quite so driven by my emotions as I used to be. Got an awful lot more, bizarrely, a lot more structured and a lot more planned since 2016 when I did a similar training to what you're doing, and which is kind of the opposite to what you would think, because it was a very unstructured approach, very unstructured program. But one of my weaknesses in terms of running a business was structure and planning. So that's what arose for me, and it has helped enormously in managing a complex business. So I've got various little spreadsheets of we're doing this project here and this project here and this project here, and there must be, I mean, we're a diverse farm, Martin. We've got 5 or 6 different sort of major enterprises going on, some of them being farming, some of them being non-farming. The farming one's being running a 400 cow dairy herd with the crops and arable supporting it, and then the non-farming, we've got the glamping, like the people that are coming on your program are going to be staying in some of our yurts and some of our shepherd's huts. We've got a fly fishery which has been running since the mid-80s, and we've got a large self-storage unit as well. Actually, our self-storage unit is the same size as Big Yellow in Portsmouth, but you'd never believe it. So there's an awful lot of different things going on, and so there's a lot of complexity to running a business like this. And the only way that I can actually find time to come out and sit here with you is if I've got an organised way of actually doing that, and people who are taking responsibility in those various areas and running the parts without having to keep coming back to me all the time. So there's definitely been a much bigger change, or a very big change from that point of view, in terms of the way we run the farm, and developing sort of visions and missions for the farm and things like that, which sounds all a bit airy-fairy, but you do need a direction, and particularly at the moment where farming is changing so much. We're coming from in the agricultural world from a very high input, high output paradigm. Post-war, all that people were thinking about is how the hell do we feed the world. Post-war, fertilizers have been developed and introduced. Post-war, people put 2 and 2 together, that if we fertilize crops and build output, hunger's never going to be an issue. Certainly in the Western world. I appreciate there's a lot of hunger in the world, but that's for political reasons, not production reasons. So we have a huge ability to feed ourselves, and of course now we're in a situation where we're getting to towards I wouldn't say the end of the industrial society, but we're 100 to 150 years into an industrial society, and we're starting to see some of the environmental consequences and costs of that, which are, of course, one of them being more carbon in the atmosphere, which I'm going to say allegedly is causing climate change. And I say allegedly because everyone has a different view on whether climate change is real or not. Some people think that it is, and some people think that it's not. But at the end of the day, scientists would tell you that global temperatures are warming, and scientists would tell you that carbon content in the atmosphere is going up. So you could put 2 and 2 together and say that that's linked, or you could sort of say, well, perhaps it's not. But that's irrelevant to me. My thoughts around farming is and carbon emissions in the atmosphere and everything else is what is good value. We shouldn't really be doing it. We should, regardless of whether there's an impact or not, we want to be making sure that we shouldn't be having potential negative impacts on the society that we're creating for our children. So what is the way therefore we can go forward and actually farm or run any part of our society that doesn't have these potential negative impacts, and all still really enjoy what we're doing at the same time?
Yeah. So I guess being on a farm, you're an amazing example of it, because you see if you do something in an unkind way or an irresponsible way, then it impacts your land, it impacts
indeed,
your cows, etc.
Yeah.
Most of society is doing things that have an impact, but they don't see the impact, or they don't care about
Sure.
because they don't see the impact in the same way, they just carry on living on their life the way they do.
And of course, a lot of the impacts are down the road. You know, even with the farming, if you put a lot of fertilizer on your soils, you burn up the carbon, that'll go up into the atmosphere, and your soils will deplete. So that's going to affect my children's children on this farm if we've done that. If you work out a way of farming where it's much more circular and the nutrients are going back in from the farm and the soil, organic matters are building and the biology is building and everything else, that's going to have a much more positive impact 50 years down the road. One of the downsides is trying to stay in business while making those transitions, because the market is based on being able to whack a load of input on, which used to be cheap input, to be fair, and create a load of output and make a profit. Things have changed actually in the last 12 months. The inputs prices, as we know, globally have increased dramatically, but particularly energy prices and fertilizer prices have gone through the roof. So I think more and more now that there is a bit more alignment between these environmental, biological kind of systems and the financial ones. And to be fair, that's the only way that the world going forward is going to actually achieve some of these things. We all live in this financial model which is made up, but if we align it to the environmental goals and the welfare goals and the social goals, then we're going to have a much better outcome. In my humble opinion.
What impact can I then link that into this work, the Quality of Mind program? One of the things that when we explore the mind and when we explore it deeply, we realize the interconnectedness of everything. We realize that we aren't separate from nature. We are nature.
Sure. Yeah.
We realize that everything is interconnected. We realize that there's just energy. And consciousness. And when we deeply realize that, then how on earth could we damage something? We increase our awareness of our impact, and how on earth could I then damage something that I'm connected to, that is me? And I'm just linking that into, I think, the farm and doing this in nature. One of the reasons we want to do it in nature is to feel this connection. To feel this connection, because when we're in nature, we feel it.
Yes, indeed, absolutely.
We feel different. It has an impact on our system. And that's one of the reasons we're doing it here.
Well, to be fair, Martin, you're not going to learn what you're talking about from a PowerPoint.
No, not from a PowerPoint, and not in a concrete jungle, in a city.
No, not in quite the same way.
So is there any other impacts? You talked about gaining this understanding helps you become more structured. How else has it helped you?
I'm typically quite an anxious person, and it's certainly helped. It helps reduce the anxiety. It's helped become aware of the anxiety, and see it for what it is, which is just an emotion.
That's interesting. So it shifts your relationship to that, because anxiety is some feeling in the body, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have a bit of the pattern of that. I mean, years ago I used to do a lot of rock climbing, and then I rode motorbikes, and now I go mountain biking. But I'm guessing if I haven't got something that's going to press a little bit of anxiety in me, I'll go and look for it. So that's just a behavioural pattern that I have. I kind of like that sort of thing, but I don't really want it to kill me early, either by falling off rock faces or heart attacks. Either or both of those would not be great. So to have a perspective on anxiety for me is very, very useful.
Yeah, and I'm sure lots of people watching this can relate to that feeling. Is how do we and this is part of the exploration, is how do we shift our relationship to anxiety, feelings that we're feeling, anxiety, stress, overwhelm.
Yeah, I mean, for different people, I think it's different things at different times. As I say, an understanding that it's thought generated is very useful, but it won't. If you're in the depths of something that's not going on, which in your mind is not great, and you're seeing sort of negative outcomes, you're going to feel anxious. If somebody close to you dies, you're going to feel sad. This understanding that you're talking about and teaching is not going to change human emotions, and it shouldn't. I mean, really, it would be fairly inhumane if you didn't feel sad if somebody really close to you died.
Yes, I agree with that, and I see that it gives you an understanding to experience that and or deal with it in a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And in some respects, not resist it. It just is.
Yes, not resist it, and because we live in a society where if we feel bad, we don't want to feel bad.
No, exactly.
We don't want to feel anxious. We don't want to feel annoyed, etc.
We want happiness.
The
moment you've only got control of is right now. You never have control of the future. I quite often say to people, if I'm doing any coaching, you might be trying to get to Newcastle, but if you're driving a car at night, the only area that you've got to make a decision in is as far as your headlights go forward, and I think if people can come back into that headlight area, they make much better decisions, and because it's only ever about the next step or the next 100 yards that you're actually driving or walking, that you can actually have any influence on, and actually it's the only area that you've got any influence on how you experience that. I mean, if you're driving, for example, you can be very much in your head worrying away about all sorts of problems about where I'm going to get to and what it's going to be like in Newcastle, and other times you can actually just be enjoying sitting there, listening to some music or the cars going by, and be very much more present in your experience. And I think being present in your experience is a really positive thing for anybody on this planet.
Yeah, I love it, and it's a key principle of the mind, actually. And a lot of the time we're thinking forward about what's going to happen. We're creating what might be happening in Newcastle.
Yes, yeah, absolutely,
But the other key point about the present moment is, if we really tune into the present moment, we tune into each other.
Yeah.
And we access another level of intelligence about what to do in any moment.
I think you're right. It certainly feels like that. Yeah, it certainly feels that you can have a much more insightful conversation when you're in tune with what's going on. And of course, we're always only ever in the present moment, regardless of what's going on in your head. It's never not there. It's just that we as human beings seem to have got this biocomputer going whoa all the time, and it can drive us crazy, and it's the cause of I guess most of the profound mental health issues like anxiety, depression. It's not quite so much what's going on out there, it's what's going on inside and how you're reacting to that creates the inner emotions. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't get anxious and the weather's not great and there's a load of silage on the ground I've got to bring in, Martin. I can tell you that for nothing. I wish it did. I wish it was a magic pill that that it achieved that. For me, and for most people I know, it's not quite a magic pill.
So I just want to say a little bit about why are we doing it here? Why are we doing it here? And what can people expect? I just want to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, of course, no problem. Yeah.
I've done this program in many different places.
Yeah.
And there's some key reasons to do it here. One is it's such a beautiful container. It's as you can see from this beautiful beautiful backdrop here, the 1,200 acres of land that we are on. It's just an amazing setting. And as I said earlier, it's like when we're in nature, we drop in, it has some impact on our automatic nervous system. There's a vibrational frequency that the countryside is providing that has us calm down and quieten and takes us out of our busy mind and our busy life to really explore this work. So this setting of nature is an amazing one. And then to be doing it in partnership with you, who we have a connection that's developed over years, and you have an understanding of this work. You know, it feels like the perfect container to, it's like the perfect container. It's not just anywhere. I'm not just hiring your building.
Sure.
I'm coming in partnership and in connection with you, and I think that's going to provide something totally different to people that come on this.
Well, I'm certainly happy to spend some time talking to people about what we do and how we've been working here. And
good,
great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So I just